Hey guys, what's going on? Jab here, and in today's video, Bitcoin has broken bearish. As you can see up that way, Bitcoin has broken bearish out of a rising wedge that we've been watching here over the last couple of days. Not only that, but it's rejected off of several major levels of resistance. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing why this rejection happened. We're going to be talking about where I think Bitcoin will be heading from here. And most importantly, I'll be showing you guys what I have learned from the market over the last 24 hours or so. By the end of this video, you'll have learned a lot about trend reversals and how to spot them so that you're able to trade the markets accordingly. And you're also going to learn about all the technicals that have governed this move and hopefully the technicals that will govern the moves in the next couple of days so that you're able to plan accordingly. Because at the end of this video, we'll be going over our segment, What's the Trade? And I'll show you guys where I think the trade should be in this particular market. If you guys enjoyed today's videos, likes are very much appreciated and subscribers are always welcome. Both of those buttons are down below. Go right ahead and hit them. But without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. The first thing we need to discuss before getting on into where I think Bitcoin is heading and what the trade is on this market, we need to discuss why Bitcoin rejected and has fallen here over the last 24 to 48 hours or so. And if you'll remember back to yesterday's video, which is right around here, then you'll remember I was discussing the 20 daily exponential moving average. Let's show you that. That's right out here, obviously, on the daily chart. On a clean chart here, we can see that Bitcoin has rejected off of it. I was talking about in yesterday's video and the video before that about how Bitcoin needed to get above that level of resistance, and if it didn't, it was most likely that Bitcoin was going to reject and start moving to the downside. At the time being, anyway, Bitcoin has, in fact, rejected off of that 20 exponential moving average here on the daily chart, as well as some other resistance. That other resistance would be showing up in the form of where we were trading just a few weeks ago. As you can see, that other resistance would be showing up in the form of the bottoms that we had, the support that we had just a few weeks ago. As you can see right here, Bitcoin was using this zone right here in between about $7,750 and $8,000 as support just a few weeks ago, and that's right around the place that we got stopped out at. So not only was it the 20 daily exponential moving average to blame, it was also our previous support levels turning into current resistance. If you guys are in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy and you've seen this video right here, gauging the strength of support and resistance, and our general video on support and resistance right here, then you will know that previous support can turn into current resistance. That's exactly what's happened here. By the way, that $40 off sale is running through the end of Cyber Monday, so if you're interested, join down below. More on that at the end of the video. Nevertheless, so those were two of the reasons that Bitcoin fell over, but there is one more that is worth mentioning, and that was that rising wedge that I talked about at the beginning of the video. As you can see here, Bitcoin had an uptrend of resistance and an uptrend of support. When those two start converging on each other and you have two trend lines moving in the same direction, Bitcoin's bouncing around between them, more often than not, Bitcoin is going to reject here. Now here's something you have to understand. The probability of where Bitcoin goes is very important because we had a probability that Bitcoin would move up to about $8,000 because of this inverse head and shoulders pattern. We moved up to around $7,900. That's pretty close. The same thing is true for rising wedges. I talk about this in our wedges and pennant patterns over here. About 70% of the time, rising wedges are going to result in a bearish breakout. So you combine the rising wedge with the 20D EMA and that previous support that is now resistance, and you get a bearish breakout. That's why we moved in this direction, just so you know. But that's all well and good, guys. What happens next? Is Bitcoin going to bounce here at around $7,250 and continue moving to the upside now that we've invalidated this rising wedge? Is that what's going to happen? Let's talk about that. One thing that I think is very important on the chart right now is that Bitcoin is trying to cross bullish on the MACD. Because of the movements we had yesterday, the MACD was bullish for a little while, but by the time that daily candlestick had closed, Bitcoin was no longer crossed bullish on the MACD. Right now, our MACD line is sitting up right next to the signal line, which means that at any moment, if Bitcoin puts in a green candlestick, there's a decent chance that we'll see a bullish MACD cross. Something like that could drive Bitcoin to the upside and allow us to put a bottom end down here above $7,000. But you have to understand something. While that is possible, that's not necessarily what's most likely. Bitcoin is in a long-term downtrend, and since Bitcoin didn't get above our 20 daily exponential moving average right here, Bitcoin is going to have a hard time bouncing again because we validated the downtrend. So if, and this is a big if Bitcoin bounces above $7,000, then that will likely trigger a bullish MACD cross, and that could well push us to the upside again and allow us to retest those levels of resistance we discussed earlier in the video. If that doesn't happen though, guys, some of the technicals I'm about to tell you about are going to be very important. One, Bitcoin has lost a lot of its momentum. We had some bullish momentum here, but unfortunately, the way that that bullish momentum played out, it formed a rising wedge, which resulted in a bearish breakout. We were steadily, slowly but surely losing our momentum, and then we reversed and moved to the downside. So we've lost our bullish momentum. That is a very hard thing to build in the first place. We had to build it through an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which took over a week to build, and now we've lost it again. So if we're going to see this happen again, we might either have to come down and test this level right here at $6,800, or even all the way down to our current bottom at $65. And guys, that leads me to the price target of a rising wedge. The price target of a rising wedge is very easy to calculate. It's normally just where the rising wedge started. Right down here at $6,800 is the current price target. But guys, there is one more thing I want to mention that I find pretty interesting. The longs are still mooning. People still seem to be bullish and excited about Bitcoin, even though we've lost a lot of our momentum, even though a lot of the technicals are pointing to the downside. People are still getting excited about Bitcoin. And even though that might be a bad thing for the short term, because a lot of times longs are a contrarian signal, that really depends. Sometimes they're not. What I think that means is that in general, out on the longer term, we are getting close to the bottom. I think it's probably going to be above $6,000. It might even be exactly $6,000, but I think a lot of people are getting kind of tired of this downtrend. They're getting really excited about how low Bitcoin is priced, and they're looking forward to Q1 moving into Q2 where the next halving will happen. As the fundamentals and the technicals continue to look bullish and more bullish on the longer term, especially the fundamentals, I think it's starting to get people excited about how low these prices are, guys. I think we're looking at a very good Cyber Monday sale on Bitcoin, if you ask me. So with all of that in mind, guys, what's the trade and where's Bitcoin headed from here? Well, in my honest opinion, there are two scenarios. One is that Bitcoin manages to hold here at $7,250. And to be fair, there is a reason why Bitcoin might hold around there. That is our previous level of support over here on this market right here and on this market right here. And if we bust out the trusty VPVR, there is a little bit of a VPVR climax right there as well that we can use for support. Furthermore, guys, on the weekly chart, we are looking at a bullish cross between the 50 and the 100 daily simple moving average relatively soon. That has only ever happened once in the entire history of Bitcoin, and when it did, it was the beginning of a new bull market. So there are bullish technicals for the long term, and there is reason to believe that Bitcoin might bounce here. That being said, I'm going to leave that up to you guys because I think it's really split. I think Bitcoin could fall here below $7,200 and execute my next idea of where Bitcoin will be heading, which would be right down here to our price target on the falling wedge, down here around $6,800. No matter where it bounces, the point is I think we're close to a long-term bottom, and I think there is a trade to be made here. So what's the trade? Where is it? Here's the trade, guys. If Bitcoin bounces here, I would call most of this a no trade zone on the longer term. If you're day trading, you're like watching the minute chart and you have that gut feeling, the intuition, you can do that. That's what I was doing over here. I made 60% in one trade over here. I made 3 or 4, 20 or 30% trades over here. There's a lot of trades you can make. When I say no trade zone, I talk about in the longer term. Until we get above that 20 exponential moving average, I'd be careful of making swing trades here. So there is an option for you to long if you think Bitcoin is going to bounce. You could pretty easily put a stop loss down here because if we break this level of support at 7,250, we're probably going to 68. Easy stop loss right there. Use maybe 3 to 5x leverage as Bitcoin moves back up to the 20 daily exponential moving average if you think that's where we're headed. If you're like me and you think Bitcoin is headed down to $6,800 because I think it is, then a pretty easy thing to do is right where that stop loss was on our previous trade, that's where the entry is. Right here around 7,200 flat. You put an entry there, a stop loss maybe up here at 74, and then a price target as an exit down here around 6,800. Both of those trades are going to have between a 2 to 4 risk to reward ratio, and I always advise you guys to have at least a 3x risk to reward ratio, so try to plan your trades accordingly. But guys, moving here into the end of the video, I've already gone over everything that I want to talk about on the technical front. There's something I briefly want to mention, and that is why we're doing this. I think a lot of people get caught up in making money in the cryptocurrency space. They get caught up on the idea of win Lambo. They get caught up on the idea of making as much Bitcoin as possible. And people forget why we're actually here. I think it's very common for people to get into cryptocurrency and think that making $100 million or $10 million or $1 million or 20 or 30 or 50 Bitcoin is going to make them happy. Let me tell you something. I've been there. I've made a lot of money. That's not the meaning of life. That's not what's going to fulfill you. Making a lot of money in cryptocurrency is not what's going to fulfill you. Let me tell you what will fulfill you based on human psychology. What's going to fulfill you is your freedom to do whatever you want to do, to be able to live not based off of trying to make enough money to cover your expenses, but live based off of doing what you want to do with your own time and spending the majority of your time doing what you want to do rather than doing what someone else wants to do. That's why we're here, is for our own time freedom, for the ability to make money on our clock and then use that money however we see fit. Being in control of our own lives and not having to do anything we don't want to do because we want to live a life of satisfaction and fulfillment, that's one of the reasons, that's one of the major reasons I think that many of us are here. So as we move into the month of December and we start getting into the season of gift giving and giving back to our communities, let's remember that the reason that we're making money is not for ourselves. Maybe I don't want to speak for anyone else here, but I personally find it much more fulfilling to give back to people rather than to give to myself. Because when you buy something fancy and new, it's fun for a couple of days, and then you're like, okay, what's next? Well, the next thing is a $50,000 car instead of a $30,000 car, and then it's $100,000, it's $500,000, and it never ends. Are you doing it for the money, or are you doing it for your fulfillment? Are you actually trying to find happiness, or are you just trying to add a couple of zeros to your bank account? Think about that for the next couple of days. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. Before we do, though, I do want to remind you of CT2A, because even though making money is not the end goal, it is very important for getting to our end goals. It is a capitalistic society we live in, after all. And like I said, one of the big reasons that we're in cryptocurrency is for our own time freedom. To have that time freedom, you have to become an experienced analyst and trader and investor. And if you want to learn how to do that, the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy is a fantastic place to do that. Because of popular demand, I extended the Black Friday sale through the end of Cyber Monday, so you've got about another 48 hours to go ahead and jump on in if you are interested. There are 34 videos in this course covering more than 10 hours of content on basically everything you need to know about technical analysis here in the cryptocurrency markets. We go over the basic stuff like support and resistance and how to set up and use TradingView. And then after we get through all that introductory stuff, we get down here to the meat and potatoes, the wisdom, the cryptocurrency knowledge, the things that you need when you're working in this space. Like learning how to trust your intuition and your gut feeling and your instinct in this video. Understanding why the market moves the way that it does in math psychology. Understanding how to plan and execute those profitable trades that I just showed you here in this video. If you want to learn this market in depth, there's one great way to do it, and it's linked below. It's called the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, and there's a $40 off coupon code running right now. We always have a 14-day money-back refund guarantee, so if you don't like the Academy, you can get your money back. Just shoot me an email. And if you're interested in finding out what other students think about the Academy, feel free to ask us in the comments section, and feel free to join the Discord server and talk to one of our over 1,000 students. But anyway, guys, that is going to have to wrap it up for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.